Hi, it's Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky. I'm wearing red because the American Heart Association today has said it's wear red for women. And that's because you probably don't realize this, that women are more likely to die of cardiovascular disease than all cancers combined. And most women are really not aware of what a killer that is. It is also true that women over 20, so we're talking about very young women, that almost 45% have some sort of cardiovascular disease. So young women should also make sure that when they get a good checkup, that their heart is looked at. And it's also true that less than 50% of women entering pregnancy have really good heart health. Women, make sure that you consider that. I also want to say a good pal of mine, a member of Congress from New York, just lost her 30-year partner. He was shoveling snow in New York and suddenly died last weekend, 62 years old. So fellas, you need to watch out too. That snow can be a real killer. I want to tell you the good news about the jobs report. It was unexpected, but there were over 460,000 new jobs created in the United States. So we're seeing that in 1 year and a little bit more, there has been the most job creation really of any time in history. So Monday, we began the celebration of Black History Month. But let's remember, it's not just about history, and that is very important. And even though there are some efforts, I think, to say there's no reason to discuss slavery in certain states, which is ridiculous. History is history, and we want to make sure that the truth is always told. But we also want to look at the current state. And we have what we call a momnibus bill, instead of omnibus, a momnibus bill that has a number of pieces of legislation in it, particularly to target the vulnerability of Black women in pregnancy, where we see a disproportionate share of those women dying. And so passed into law out of the momnibus. Not all of those bills have passed, but we did pass the Moms Who Serve Act. That was signed by the president to make sure that women in the military have all of the help that they need, particularly Black women, during pregnancies. So I have a bill in there that makes sure that health insurance is covered from beginning to end for pregnant women. And we need to focus on that because far too many women, again, more disproportionately women of color, die during pregnancy. And then I want to talk about the big bill that we're dealing with today. It's Friday, I'm going to go down to the floor, and hopefully we're going to see the passage of the America Competes Act. You know, the United States needs to make a number of important changes. One, more manufacturing in the United States of America. There was a period, of course, during globalization when many jobs were sent overseas by corporations, wages were cheaper. Now we have seen, especially with issues like the lack of semiconductors, which are so important for manufacturing in so many things, not just cars, but so many things that we manufacture. We need to make it in America. Of course, that's good for jobs. And the Competes Act has job training, good jobs, good paying jobs in there. We also have a bill of mine that is in there that will protect online consumers and make sure that platforms take responsibility for the marketplaces that are there, so there will be less counterfeits or less dangerous products. There'll be a lot more money for research and development. And then, of course, high paying and good jobs in research and development. So this is a very, very exciting bill. $49 billion is going to be, $45 billion would be to strengthen the supply chain. We've had all these supply chain problems right now. We did pass legislation to end the gridlock at the ports. It's been a big problem. So this is a wonderful, big, important piece of legislation. So I had a hearing in my subcommittee on Consumer Protection and Commerce to look at price gouging during this pandemic. And sad to say, though not surprising, that some corporations have taken advantage of the pandemic and said, oh, this would be a good time to raise prices. And we had a long list of companies who have done just that. For example, Procter and Gamble raised the cost of just about all the products that are made in the United States, raking in $21 billion in profits in 2021. That was significantly over the same period last year. Kroger, we're talking about a grocery store, posted record earnings during the pandemic, including $132 billion in 2020, and all the while not only significantly raising their prices, but decreasing wages by 8%. And authorizing billions of dollars in stock buybacks and raising the salary of their CEO by $6.4 million. That's just the increase in the salary of their CEO. Come on. And so, we're talking about inflation. Part of that inflation is because company after company has taken advantage. We saw increases in critical products that we needed during the pandemic, the personal protective equipment, masks, all the things that were absolutely essential. Those prices went up when they were so desperately needed. That's not right. Good news about Medicare. Medicare is now going to cover at-home testing. I wish I could tell you that that's going to start right away, but later this spring, you'll be able to walk into any pharmacy and get the test that you need. In the meantime, anyone, seniors or anyone, can go to covidtest.gov or call 1-800-232-0233 and get 4 free COVID tests. But seniors would, if you want to walk into a pharmacy, as I said, you may have to wait later in the spring. They have not announced what that number is. So the Postal Service, we've been complaining a long time for good reason for the federal postmaster DeJoy and some of the things that he's done that has actually helped to slow down the mail delivery. Well, it sounded good at first. There's now $11.3 billion that has been put under contract for new mail truck delivery. So it's a good thing that there's going to be more trucks to deliver the mail. The bad news is that only 10% are fuel efficient and 90% are gas guzzlers. And actually, the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, is looking into that to see if that can be changed. So even when he wants to do something good, DeJoy finds another way to do special contracts, who knows with who, I mean, if they're his friends, that are going to make it worse for our environment. I wanted to talk a little bit about anti-Semitic hate because we have experienced that in my district. Last weekend, there was a whole spate of attacks, especially in the Orthodox community portion of my district. It's mostly west on Devon Avenue, where synagogues, a number of them, had graffiti, had broken windows. And in fact, one man in front of the synagogue was actually chased. Fortunately, he is okay. 3 guys with, yelling at him, spouting all kinds of anti-Semitism. But Illinois wasn't alone. Florida, DC, Denver experienced the same. And we have seen a pretty extraordinary rise in anti-Semitism. Of all the religion-based hate crimes, anti-Semitism is number 1. Crimes against the Jewish community. We know that it's not just the Jewish community, of course. We see people of color, we see immigrants, we see the LGBTQ community, we see Asians. In my lifetime, really, I haven't seen so much at once of this kind of somehow freedom to attack, to speak out. Maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like this is different than it has been in decades before us. We have to try and turn down the heat here, and people understand that we all have to work together. And in that regard, we have a Black Jewish coalition, that a task force that met yesterday. I'm part of that group that talked about ways that we can work together. I also wanted to just give you some numbers. We are seeing a decline in COVID hospitalizations. That is good news, down 26% this week in Illinois. We still see, however, that people are getting sick and people are dying, and mainly those are people who are not vaccinated. We still want to encourage people to do it. But the good news is that it looks like the Air and Water Show, the Taste of Chicago, so far plans are to go ahead in person, people turning out, and let's hope that we can achieve that and have some fun looking forward. So be careful shoveling, take care of your health, have a good week, and I'll see you next week. Thank you for watching my video. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, where my handle is @Jan Schakowsky.